It is an honor and privilege to be here with all of you. We are currently going through an era of changes, and this is extremely disruptive changes which we are currently seeing around us. The change is nothing new to us. We have seen these changes in our career. But what is now differentiating in this change is, it is not a single factor which is changing, everything around us is changing. If you look at the business model currently we work has completely changed. 10 years back or 5 years back, a particular request coming to a security officer which was upright declined was now being taken into consideration to ensure that service is being enabled in the most secure manner. The constituents' expectation of the security has completely changed. Threat and vulnerabilities around us is continuously changing. Take an example of Poodle type of vulnerabilities which came out, which has been in our network for decades, and suddenly one fine morning we are knowing that there is a huge vulnerability and it is across our estates. The end users are changing completely. They are now defining which application they need, which device they need to use it, and how they need to operate in an environment. In the similar manner, the IT environment is now becoming extremely heterogeneous. Earlier we had a clear view, which is our IP range, where the device is connecting from, which resources they are accessing, and which device they use. Now we don't have a control on that. On the same time, the threat actors has also become extremely motivated because they are finding a lot of environment where they can exploit much easily. The current instance which is happening on the cyber world is nothing new. If you look at the physical world, everywhere when there was no legal system to track them down or penalize them, or exploit was easily available or valuable resources were available easily, the attacks always happened. This is the same scenario we are seeing currently in the cyber world. This also now in the new era, the formation of cloud, mobility, social, big data, IoT, artificial intelligence all came into picture. What is actually led is that while this was more for consumerization, convenience, what it actually led is the information and opinions and insights are available to anyone at any time from any device. And that is not the way security ever worked. We always worked on a fortress model where data is inside multiple layers of security. Now information became the key resources which we are trying to protect, and this is available in multiple resources, accessible from anywhere, from any device. And that actually triggered a lot of new regulations coming into picture. The threat, the attack landscape has increased considerably, and the federation of our connected partners and the ecosystem has completely changed. We are currently living in that era. And breaches are becoming a routine news which is coming in our media. While media has done a fantastic job in creating awareness across everywhere, that also created a lot of people being paranoid in the digital world. And the trust is the fundamental thing that makes the digital economy work. In a physical world, it takes time for people to have a connect each other or the trust, and even if it has eroding, we can patch up much easier. But in a cyber world, the trust happens overnight, and if it is been eroded, it is too difficult for the company to come back itself. The security professionals now has a new responsibility of ensuring the assurance and the trust of the organization in the digital world. Till very recently, the security professionals are pure IT guys sitting at the back end. Now that landscape is completely changing out. And the constituents are now demanding transparency on the way we collect information, how we use it, how we process it, how we dispose it. It is no longer just for take for granted that we collect information and use the way we want it. And that responsibility is now back to the security function or the accountable people in developing the policy or managing it or controlling the environment. Symantec runs the world's largest civilian threat intelligence network. How we make it happen is that we have a large footprint of our Norton antivirus across the globe. We have the enterprise antiviruses. We can control the 56% of the world's proxy traffic, and we have a lot of other telemetries coming from different places. Or almost 200 million telemetry we use to analyze to find out what is happening in each of the regions, industries, and the countries. So in 2018, we analyzed all this data, and what of the finding came out is that web attacks are going up by around 56%. This is a global data. And this is nothing new or surprising information, because an application developer who was purely a back-end guy has now come into the front end with the new terminologies of APIs, microservices, all of that new services, and they are exposing the applications directly to the internet without even consulting the security team. And there is also a lack at the security team, because most of the security doesn't come from an application development background. And that is now triggering around 56% attacks more in that space. Phone jacking is a new type of attack we started seeing over the last few years, which is essentially manipulating a small code in a website and controlling or sniffing the data which is moving through the websites, which is essentially the credit cards and sensitive information. It is extremely easy to exploit such a website, and it hardly takes 2 or 3 minutes to do that. A small example is a counter application which we keep it on the website, which is hidden or exposed. Most of the time the developers is picking it from a public folder or a GitHub or a pastebin and using it internally, and the managers never ask where you got it or you developed it. And those are known applications with vulnerabilities which has been exploited first. We are last year around 4,500 websites where every month we were going through that, and the number is increasing. The ransomware at an overall level it is dropping, but at enterprise level it is going up. So one of the reasons why it is dropping is that the ransomwares are traditionally created with Microsoft in mind, and most of the end users are using the iOS or the Android applications. And even if they have got hit by a ransomware, they are not going to pay the money, because it's more of a sentimental issue that they lost some photographs of their vacations. But at the enterprise level, ransomware is still a major problem. Terror attacks are going extremely high. The motive can be different. It can be for information or intellectual property. It can be activism, state-sponsored, all of that, but it is going high. At least around 55 companies are targeted every large attacks by organized crime units, which is happening every month on that. Cryptojacking, on the other hand, we are seeing a drop on the cryptojacking last year. That was correlated directly with the price of the Bitcoin. But currently, the Bitcoin prices are going high, so it is a worrying factor to look into that. Because they never took their hands off from the controlled environment. They kept it there hoping that price is going up, will go up, and now currently it is going up. Another major one which came out is something called the leaving of the land attack, which means a legitimate tool of yours, which you use on a normal basis, is being used against you. An example is a VB script or a PowerShell script, which you are essentially, your IT guys are running it, is suddenly being taken over and then attack against you. The difficulty with that is that these are trusted applications, sanctioned applications, which cannot be blocked at the estate level. You need maturity to understand that which IP segment or which systems or which folder it is triggering and which application it is accessing to that. The current attacks we are seeing globally is either of a phone jacking or a leaving of the land attack. And that is becoming a major challenge part. And the key observation we came out with that saying is, the smartphone arguably is the greatest spying device ever built in the world. A small example is when you download an application of a torchlight, it is asking for your location, it's asking for your contact list, all the permissions in your system, and blindly we agree to that thing, and there is no need for a torch application to have all this access. The cloud has become the new PC. And IoT attacks is growing very high. The problem with the IoT attacks is that most of the developers, yesterday in the speeches also people have mentioned that IoT, they are in a race to launch the product and get into the environment, but the consideration of the security is going very low. The problem with an IoT attack is that normally when an enterprise gets hacked, it is the financial enforcement unit which is going to talk, or the regulators, and it has been settled with a penalty. But when an IoT is being hacked, it is a human life which is being impacted. And that time a security professional will not be in a state to say that there were vulnerabilities which I missed fixing it up, or there was a misconfiguration or a default password being used. You have an indirect liability to that human impacted on that. That is the era which we are walking into. We also looked at the data specific to South Africa. So what we found is in the region, the Middle East and the African region, currently South Africa is third in the list of most vulnerable or targeted or concerned network. This information is collected from the telemetry we collect from the systems which is in this network. The last year it was fourth, and this was 2017 it was fourth, and it moved to third in 2018. Then we went into specific to find out what is triggering this. The one alarming number we saw in 2017, 83rd was the position of South African network globally when it comes to threat, and that has moved down to 27. That is a big quantum jump. So we further analyzed to find out what is actually triggering it. 5 factors, which is the malware, spam, phishing, ransomware, and botnets. There is a considerable increase on that. Earlier it was globally, if you look at the percentage was in decimals, now it has all moved to single digit. This is also an indication saying that if you continue with the current state, the 2019 may not be staying at the same level, it may go still worse. An urgent intervention is required on that particular portion. So the further analysis, we looked at the email threats and said the type of malware coming to the network. Globally we say there is possibility of one malware out of 412 emails. But in South Africa we are saying one malware out of 131 emails. That number is much bigger. And when it comes to the phishing, the global number is 1 out of 3,200, and South Africa is one in every 1,300 odd mails. And spam is at 51% of all the mails coming to the country could be a spam. So these numbers are slightly alarming numbers. And if you look at the industry-wise, it is not that the single industry is being attacked. They are using various different methods, and this is how the number look like. From a security practice or a program perspective, the budgets are currently remaining almost the same or with an increment of a small number. But in reality what is happening currently is that you need the existing budget to continue the state which you are currently in, and you need additional new technologies. Like when a form jacking is coming, your earlier traditional antivirus is not enough. Your phishing campaign is going high. Whatever you do as cultural change in an organization, there is still a 4% of the people going to click. And there are highly targeted attacks coming against the senior management and the people processing payment, and that need to be addressed with the new controls called isolation. Your Active Directory has to be protected. These are all the new control areas which we need to look at. That need additional funds. The new regulations like GDPR and country-specific regulation and industry-specific regulations is mandating new controls and process internally. That need more money. You get enough and more people to sit in front of a computer, but if you need a quality resource who understands security right, you need to pay more, because that hype cycle is still going up. Security is not getting settled up. There are 1,700 companies in security right now, only 10 is making money, but everybody is spending more and more on building new companies and startups because the hype cycle is still high. It is not settling down because people are trying to get it right over the years. Subscription growth of all the products has changed. Because earlier it was a perpetual model, it has been moved to subscription. You need more money for that. When the cloud adoption happened, the CIO's business case with the management was, I'm going to shut down the legacy data centers and I will move completely to the cloud. But current state is that both are going. Nothing else has gone down. You are not seeing that 10 servers or 20 servers move to the cloud. I reduced 20 servers in my network. Both are still staying there. And managing the security of the cloud is not as managing the security of on-prem. You need a totally different skill set and controls over there. So literally you are paying two environments you need to manage. So security budget has to go up considerably. The people's skills has to change completely. And that is the era we are working on. The internet has become extremely dark, which means currently 80 to 85% of your network traffic is going through is encrypted traffic. The problem with the encrypted traffic is that you have zero visibility of what is happening on the traffic which is reaching your endpoint or a server. I heard a beautiful layman view of that, saying that you boarded a flight and the captain announces saying 80% of the people in this flight is not been, and the luggage is not been frisked. What is your confidence level to fly on that aircraft? It is the same way. The traffic, 80 to 85% of your traffic is reaching your endpoint and server, which is not being scanned at any level. And people are finding it, the attackers are finding it an opportunity to tunnel the attacks through that. That requires a new way of looking at. You need to have a decryption at your entire network level and consume it for the control devices. You cannot, because this number is going to go up. We are seeing over the years this encrypted traffic count is going up and up. One way we needed encryption because of the privacy reasons. But on the other hand, we are struggling with the blind spot we have on our network. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is becoming very prominent. For one of the reasons is that you have a huge lot of data coming out. You need to identify that indicators proactively to defend yourself. Traditionally, we worked on the reactive model. We have to move to the proactive, and machine learning and artificial intelligence is the only way to do that. It can be either from your products or your internal practices. And skill shortage is becoming a major problem because we are handling so much of volume of data and most of the time not reaching anywhere we want to reach. But if you adopt machine learning and artificial intelligence with the right use cases, you will be able to change the entire paradigm differently. Few years back, we all believed that we have reached the state of defense or controls in a good way, and then the focus was on detect and respond. That was the instant response was the key coming out. But WannaCry and NotPetya taught us saying that the defense is still lacking. We need to do a lot to protect the environment and then look at the additional maturity from there. As I mentioned earlier we knew exactly where we were connecting from which device and which resources we are accessing. Now we reached a scenario where information is available from any device at any place at any time. That is the reality and we cannot change it. And that is going to become more complex. And that is where we need to scale up ourselves to catch up with the changes which is happening over there. In today's cloud reality, when you go to a CIO and ask, or an enterprise saying, what is your stand on the cloud? Many will say that we have sanctioned few applications and that is how we work, or we are in the way reaching there. But in reality, the business has already moved into cloud much before, or the user. A small example is I have a Word file, I need to convert it to a PDF file. The best way is to upload it to some free services and convert it and take it back. A source code compiling it can be done in the same manner. You need visibility of your enterprise to understand that what is that data which is moving out of your organization. How much of cloud traffic is generating from your network. If you have not taken that path, we suggest that do a cloud assessment. Symantec can help you out on that. And understand, have the visibility of what is happening in your enterprise. And then you can take a call saying that whether I should allow that traffic, should I restrict, or I give an alternate option. Because an alternate option, simple as that, sending a mail to all employees saying, if you click print and select convert to PDF, save as PDF, you don't have to upload it to a cloud. You can do this way. You can treat that threat in different manner. But this is the reality we are in. So when we go and ask, the CIO will say 30 to 40, in reality it's 1,000 plus applications. And the success of a security works purely on how much of visibility and control at a granular level you have at your enterprise. You need the visibility of your user activities, your devices, and the information. If that is not being attained, it is extremely difficult to control your network. And when we speak about the cloud, normally we say, I do have a security on cloud as a generic term, but ideally we need to look at 5 factors or parameters in a cloud security, which is the security while accessing the cloud, which is the devices, the path, all of that thing. Security of your systems and applications and services within the cloud, and the security of the cloud, which is with the right governance and accountability. Currently, one of the major problems is accountability is lacking in the cloud. We believe the tenant owner is the accountable person, or we believe the cloud service provider is the accountable person to make it happen. It is not. it is us, the person who is responsible for that, has to be there, and that accountability and the Raki metrics has to be created for that purpose. In this chaos, the new model which is getting adopted globally is something called the zero trust model. The zero trust model is actually giving a limited access in a most controlled manner. So, the Forrester came almost a decade back with the zero trust model, and that time it was more around the networks. So the micro segmentations, or your administrator sitting on a particular IP range and accessing a particular resource, you allow that access of IP range for all the concept of zero trust. Now the zero trust has evolved much around the networks, devices and the workloads with the right orchestration and visibility to that. The fundamentals of the zero trust is saying that, the traditional concept is saying that whichever I feel bad, I'm going to block and I allow the rest. Now the zero trust saying, I block everything and I allow what is minimum required to do that. And that is the way the companies are moving out. And when you are moving in that direction, it is not that overnight you can achieve a zero trust. You take individual components and go from there based on the threat you have. If you feel that you don't have a visibility of your current threat, please let us know. We will assist you to give you the visibility using our assessment methods or the tools and provide you the threat environment of your network. Symantec has 3,500 people in our research team. They come together often to find out or predict, saying how does the future look like, and that's how we adopt the roadmap to that. In 2014, when this group gave a document out saying that by 2020 the world is going to change completely, there will be 100% focus on cyber defense, and the emergence of cloud will be the way it is going, and disparate tooling, because companies are using around 20 to 25 different security tools, different consoles. You cannot manage to run with the right skill set all this console on real time, and the value of data is going to go high. And this, while they said 2020 is that maturity is going to happen, we started seeing this from 2018 itself. So with this view, the Symantec came out with a concept called the integrated cyber defense platform. Because what we said is that you need to look at your network in 4 different manners, which is the endpoint, your proxy, your cloud, and your email. These are your termination points. You need to build adequate security with the zero trust model, and to say that now I have a confidence that my endpoint is well secured. Take an example. This endpoint guy earlier was sitting under the layered security of perimeters, network systems, and he had limited data in that system. Now he has moved out of your network and he is sitting directly exposed to internet with a higher privilege on your system, in his system, and most of the time it is not corporate owned devices and with a lot of data in that system. You need to have hardening on that machine, application control on that system, EDR on that system, antivirus. So you have to build based on the threat you are exposing on that, and that's how you need to achieve the zero trust on each of the termination points. And once that is being done, you need advanced threat protection. You need information protection, because now information currently was in one channel, it is now in a heterogeneous channel. You need a better cloud. In the cloud, the biggest problem is cloud to cloud talk, you don't have any visibility with your perimeter control. You need to have new controls like CISSP, which will look at the movement of the information once left your perimeter in the cloud. The threat intelligence is extremely essential for the security practice or the function to be successful, because that will help you to be proactive. We cannot continue with the volume of attacks and vulnerabilities happening right now to be reactive. You need to build adequate the threat intelligence programs. If you look at the attacks major we are looking at is saying the outbreaks which is happening, the targeted attacks which is happening, the dual use of tools, the supply chain attacks. To handle this, because currently we are all talking about the new Microsoft vulnerability of RDP. Now the targeting of the victims has already been done, the exploit is already available. Now the question is when it's going to be launched. And the reports are saying almost 1 million systems are still vulnerable, even though this Microsoft has twice said this is a critical one, all the pirated softwares, all the end-of-life softwares, please go and update it. NSA has published documents, but there are still systems which is not getting patched. And if an outbreak comes, it is very similar to WannaCry, which is going to come in. So the biggest challenge on the threat intelligence is that you need a lot of experts for the machine learning and the artificial intelligence combined with the security team. And these two are two disparate teams. And both doesn't understand that space. So what we have done in Symantec is that we brought this team together and co-trained them to have the common mindset of the objective and added this threat intelligence to each of the products which we are working on. And when we move to the cloud, we have the advantage that once the threat is identified through a machine learning from one of the systems in somewhere in the world, we can actually input that threat to our global intelligence network, and that immediately propagates to all the systems globally. And you don't have to wait for weeks to get that propagated through the traditional models of updates. So also this helped us in a big way, because the leading of the land attacks were traditionally coming from the JavaScript, VB and the PowerShell. Now we have the capability to say that we know exactly when a PowerShell is calling an application which can be disruptive and which has not been seen earlier, we can block it at that level of time. And we call the STAR team our research team. 550 people, researchers sit on this thing only on threat intel. And we use the data for intelligence, analytics, investigation, and they'll be fed back to all of our products, and real time, almost at real time, we will be able to detect an infection happening somewhere in the globe and being controlled or better protected on all our products. So when we added this machine learning, one of the major change we have seen, the number of targeted attacks. When you say targeted attacks, it may be only to a one organization or one particular operating system or one particular application or one system. So it is too difficult to identify that as a threat and take it up because it's happening in isolated cases here or there. But now, with this machine learning and artificial intelligence coming together, our capability to identify this proactively has improved considerably. These are all the major target groups. A simple example, when you upload a particular file to a box, there are 11 different security controls required to that. And it is humanly not possible to have all this control monitored and actions taken in an extremely heterogeneous environment. So, with the integrated platform, what we are proposing is that you can have the Symantec platform in between the user, enterprise, and your resources, and we will make sure that it is a single console, all the controls talk to each other. Even if it is not Symantec program, doesn't matter. We work an open concept here. We integrate with all of the products and ensure that the devices, threat intelligence are shared each other. This is almost my last slide. This is a blank sheet of the current technology controls required in your environment. So how organizations normally use this is, they take it up and say that if I have already matured in that program, I put a green, and if I'm halfway, I put a yellow. I look at my first, second, and third year roadmap and fill this up. If you still see gray areas which you have never considered, you need to either take a call to accept it with a compensating control, or you say it's not a relevant threat to me, or you put a control on that. This is how many of the enterprises are currently using for their roadmap building. And interestingly in this, all the yellow marked, Symantec has the best in product for that. And wherever it is white, we partner with them to make it that happen. We are here to assist in your security roadmap, and any assistance in creating visibility, understanding your threats, granular details of it. We have our team in South Africa. We'll be happy to be of assistance anytime. Thank you very much.